Look, Charlotte, I know exactly what you're going through. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to see anyone. You just want to wallow in misery because you're heartbroken. Believe me, many years ago, I was in your shoes. I was with a girl named Polly, and she broke my heart, crushed it, really. And I went into the phase that you're in right now. I call it hermit mode. For me, it was a gradual descent into hermit mode. I just sort of faded it away from everyone. And I found comfort in my seclusion. I even stopped seeing friends. I mean, I didn't want anyone in my life. You know, on the weekends, it would be common for me not to talk to a single person for the whole 2 days. And I convinced myself that I loved it. Now, you understand that, don't you? But after a year of this, I started feeling awkward when I had to talk to people, annoyed by people trying to make small talk. You know, conversations with old friends and coworkers became difficult and labored. I was losing touch, just like you. And that was happening for me until my friend Frank told me I had to go along with him and his wife, Michelle, to Disney World. He told me it would cheer me up. I didn't want to go. Now, especially when I found out that Larry and Suzanne, friends of Frank's, were also going along. I was not looking forward to being the fifth wheel. But I thought it may help get me out of this funk that I was in. As soon as we get to Disney, I am amazed by everything. Every ride, every eating establishment, every little food stand was a separate fantasy with every detail drawn to absolute perfection. I know. You feel that Disney is an evil empire. But at that moment, I was being seduced by the dark side and I was loving it.
Oh.
Now, I know you've never been to Disney World, so let me tell you about the greatest ride ever. It was on day 3 of the trip when I found the Tower of Terror. Yeah. The hotel sits on a hill looking down over the rest of the park. It is a huge, massive structure that takes your breath away. In 1939, this hotel was the center of the Hollywood elite. But one night, while a mother, father, little girl nanny, and the poor elevator operator were in the elevator, a bolt of lightning hit it. And now their spirits haunt the elevator and the hotel. The ride is fantastic. I mean, you're guided to an elevator. It opens, you sit down and strap yourself in. The bellboy makes sure everyone is set and then says, "This elevator will take you to your rooms. We hope you have a pleasant stay and rest in peace." The doors close, the elevator goes up. The doors open, you start moving across a long hall. You can feel it lock into place. Just then, Rod Serling's voice can be heard. "You're about to discover what lies beyond the fifth dimension. Beyond the deepest, darkest corner of the imagination, in the Tower of Terror." Now you shoot straight down, then are shot straight back up, then partway down, then way up. You're on an out-of-control elevator, holding on for dear life, and you have no idea if it's ever going to stop. Then the final drop comes, the doors open, the Twilight Zone music can be heard, and Rod Serling's voice comes back in. "Welcome back, those of you that made it. And the ride is over." When I got off this ride, I went out front and smoked 2 cigarettes right in a row. I was shaking. I mean, I never had a ride affect me like that. It was scarier than any roller coaster I had ever been on, but you would love it. I decided right then and there that I was going to try and get on that ride as many times as I could for the remaining days that I was in Disney World. One time I went on it 9 times in a row. And as far as the trip was concerned, I was not feeling like the odd man out at all. You know, especially when Suzanne and I wanted to take the MGM tour and no one else wanted to go. And the reason no one else wanted to go is because this tour is absolutely the worst. I mean, it was short, it was silly, it had almost no studio to tour. I mean, Suzanne and I were in hysterics, laughing about how ridiculous this ride was. We stepped into a nearby cafe to get a cup of coffee and talk. I don't remember what we talked about. Could have been the coffee, maybe the park, maybe the tour. I don't remember because during that conversation, an explosion went off inside of me that made the Epcot fireworks seem like a sparkler. It was like all of my senses had been awakened in one moment. I mean, this woman sitting next to me was beautiful and funny and smart. And at that moment, she ceased being Larry's girlfriend and became Suzanne. I got butterflies in my stomach and my hands began to sweat. I mean, looking to Suzanne's beautiful brown eyes filled my body with such a feeling of excitement and fear. It made the Tower of Terror seem like it's a small world after all.
Okay.
I felt like a switch inside of me had been turned on after being off for so long. And then Suzanne looked me right in the eyes and said, "Oh my God, it's getting late. I have to get back to Larry. I'm going to be in so much trouble." We met everyone for dinner and everything seemed fine. And Suzanne again became Larry's girlfriend. But that moment at the coffee shop seemed like a perfect moment for me anyway. That picture of those beautiful brown eyes was permanently carved in my memory. That kind of connection does not come along every day, as you know. Well, I felt that I was doing a good job of keeping how I was feeling about Suzanne's secret from the rest of the group. But you know how good I am at keeping. The next day, we were waiting in line to get on the Aerosmith rock and roller coaster. And Larry turned to me and said, "You want to sleep with my girlfriend, don't you?"
Oh.
I was found out, called out. How did he know? How did I give myself away? I mean, his statement was crude, but correct. I was in a bit of a panic as the Aerosmith song "Living on the Edge" started blaring through the lounge. What do I say? Now, you know, if I say no, I run the risk of offending Suzanne. And if I say yes, I run the risk of losing both friendships. Well, Suzanne saved the day by jumping into Larry's arms and saying, "Bob is not attracted to me." This was an amazingly wrong statement, but it appeased Larry. And it was for the rest of the trip, I watched everything I said. And you know, over the next few days, I was analyzing my feelings for Suzanne. Was I really falling for her? Or was it just that I was in hermit mode for so long that the attention of any woman would send me over the edge? Well, Suzanne is happy in her relationship, and I have to be careful not to cause her any problems. We had to cut that trip short because we found out that a snowstorm was coming into New York. So we all changed our flights to the next day. And then Suzanne, Larry, and I ran over to get on the Tower of Terror one last time. When we got there, Larry wanted to wait outside and smoke. He told Suzanne and I to go ahead. Now, Suzanne had backed out the last few times we went on this amazing ride. This time was determined to overcome that fear. There was no line. We'd made it right to the elevator, and Suzanne held my hand. It's amazing how just the simple act of holding the right person's hand can make you feel so alive. The doors opened. We got into the elevator. The doors closed. Suzanne grabbed my arm, and I'm immediately like butter. When Rod Serling's voice told us what we were about to discover, Suzanne buried her head in my arm, and I am no longer on this ride of fear. I'm in the tunnel of love.
Aww.
I could have stayed on that ride forever. The next day, you know, we almost missed our earlier flight because Larry and Suzanne were late getting into the car for the airport. But we made it to the plane on time. And as we touched down into New York, it began to snow. I watched Larry and Suzanne walk away in the snow. And we had talked about getting together soon, but the way I was feeling about Suzanne, I felt it would be better if I just stayed away. It would be 6 months before I would see Suzanne or Larry again. 18 months after that, Suzanne broke up with Larry, and Suzanne and I started our life together. 2 years after that, Suzanne and I were married. And I can honestly say, after 13 years of marriage, that there are mornings that I wake up next to the woman that I love so very much, and I can still feel those butterflies in my stomach. So you see, Charlotte, closing yourself off doesn't make the hurt go away. If you keep yourself shut off, if I kept myself shut off, I never would have met Aunt Suzanne. And we never would have gotten married, and she never would have met you. So, we're going to Disney World. You may not find love, but it's a magical place. And it just may get you out of this funk you're in. It sure did work for your uncle all those years ago.